This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. This is your hosts, Kulz _sports.
Ryan at fantasy_trucker.
And excited for another episode. This is episode 6. We'll be doing
6
Dynasty
already.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Episode 6. We're hammering them out. It's awesome. We're both having a lot of fun. We are Dynasty Rankings 21 through 30. What's going on? I see your cats in the background there. Everything good by you?
Yeah, good. They're enjoying their little cat nap, midday routine over here. So, all is good in the Peterson household.
Love it. Let's talk about, this is our second recording remote. We're kind of trying out software. As I mentioned in the last episode, we're going to be working through some things until we really catch our groove, recording remote. But I think we found our video. I think we found the software we're going to be using. I see you very clearly. I hear you very clearly. So we're happy. And we're ready to start, firing off some YouTube channel video recordings as well. I know some of the feedback has been, want to see some video content as well. So I think we're finally there.
Yeah, here we go. Everybody buckle up.
Buckle up.
All right, so let's dive right in, Mike. Where are we starting?
21. I got Aaron Jones. I say we start there.
I got him down at 22. I'm so pumped for Aaron Jones. I really am.
Yeah. I am pumped for Jordan Love more than Aaron Jones.
Yes, you are.
So I think that Jones's stock is going to be higher than it was last year with Rodgers. And the reason why I say that is because he's going to be that veteran presence, that comfort, that safety net, that comfort outlet for Love, commanding the huddle, just like being that veteran presence that leads and just really makes Love feel at home here coming into that starting role. So I just think he's going to be relied on more. He's going to be more of a featured star of that offense. So that's kind of my short piece on Aaron Jones this year.
Yeah, Aaron Jones is 28 years old. He has 2 years left on his contract with the Packers. Last year, he finished, with a career high in rushing yards with 1121 and receptions of 59. So, averaging 5.3 per carry on 213 carries. He
awesome.
Still looks explosive. He finished inside the top 10 each of the last 4 years. The guy is a beast. The Packers, like you said, they should be running the ball early and often to kind of relieve some of that pressure on Jordan Love. And, I'm just, here's the thing, Mike, you like to talk about mileage on a car. In 3 of the last 4 seasons, he has never eclipsed over 240 carries, but awesome. He's still had over 1,000 yards rushing. So when you talk about mileage on a car, he doesn't have a lot of miles on that car.
Yeah, I mean, he is 28, so his age plays a little factor, and the 2 years on his contract concerning, because, is he a Packer after those 2 years? Time will tell. Who knows? I probably lean no, just from, we'll see where the Packers are at that. 2 years is a fucking lifetime.
Well, but running backs it's hard to get a contract at 27 years old, let alone 30. So,
yeah, that's what I mean. So, yes, I completely agree. But if that's why our rankings reflect him at 21, his next 2 years should be highly productive with the Packers. So, I'm very bullish on him the next 2 years. That's really all I got to say about Aaron Jones. He's a stud. I think he's going to catch the ball 60 times this year, 400 yards, maybe, 4 to 6 touchdowns receiving. And then you can add another, probably same 4 to 6 on the ground, probably more on the 6 range. So I don't know. I love him. I think that he's going to be leaned on heavily. with the new quarterback stepping in. And I think Love is going to do a really good job. So, Packers are going to surprise some people. I think they're projected to be last in the division. I don't think that'll be the case.
Yes, they are. Yes,
yeah,
they are.
I don't think that'll be the case. So a lot has to shake out in the NFC North, which we'll talk about in our divisional breakdowns, but wide range. Anyone in that division can get in first place. Anyone can get last. So it'll be exciting and something to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we can move on here. I have someone ranked a little higher or one spot higher than Aaron Jones in my ranking at 21. I have Dameon Pierce, and you have him all the way down at 27. A little bit about Dameon Pierce. He, in the small sample size that he had last year before he got injured, he was really good. I mean, he was a 4th-round draft pick, so not much draft capital. But in weeks 3 through 10, he racked up 4.8 yards per carry, 670 yards, and 3 touchdowns, adding 20 receptions for 112 yards. So he was heavily utilized, and the focal point of that Houston offense. So, with the rookie
I knocked
quarterback,
him a little bit too. So he was one of the guys. Sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
You always get every year you get training camp hype guys, and a lot of them do not pan out. Pierce got hyped up like that, and he did pan out. So that was good to see. It's really promising. You mentioned him, having a great productive year for the Texans, and he did. And you had me go back recently and watch his film. And I was pleasantly surprised, honestly. Like I brought up the point from Alexander Mattison where he's just not like an explosive running back to me. I'm not impressed by Mattison. I don't really like him. And I tried to make that same point about Pierce. And you had me, just like I had you watch film on Mattison, you went and had me watch film on Pierce, and I was pleasantly surprised with breaking tackles, his explosion. So, yeah, I like Pierce. I definitely do. I like Singletary as well. So, Stroud's got some weapons to lean on when he steps into his rookie season.
Yeah. He ranked last year. He was 8th in rushing yards per game with 72.2. So top 10 in rushing yards per game. That's promising. Yeah. The coaches came out this offseason and said he's improving in the pass blocking. So that increases his chances of being a 3-down back. I know they did bring in Devin Singletary. We'll talk about him in a later episode. But, I think if Dameon Pierce is fully healthy, he's going to be a focal point for years to come. And, with that team, we both are pretty confident in C.J. Stroud succeeding in the NFL. And Dameon Pierce is going to be a huge benefactor of that.
Yeah, having just moved down to Texas, I will be going to some Texans games, so it'll be exciting to see that young offense kind of put together. We'll see what happens. I like Pierce a lot. He reminds me of like a Pacheco kind of runner, how he's a hardworking, hard runner. So, the future's bright there. I'm interested. There's a lot of question marks with like just the young offense and what it turns into, but definitely exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next guy I want to talk about, you just mentioned, not in the greatest spotlight, but Alexander Mattison. I know you have your feelings about him, and I'm kind of on the other side of the fence. I think he's going to be good now that he has the full load in Minnesota. He's got 2 years remaining on his contract, so he has some sort of stability there for a couple of years. But there are a lot of potential prospects behind him. We've talked about a few of them that we are going to take a chance on later on. But he's only had 2 fumbles and 474 career carries. He holds on to the ball, and that's pretty promising. He's got a big frame, 215 pounds. He can handle that workload. And without Cook over the last few years, he's averaged 20 carries for over 100 yards and 4 receptions. Those numbers are pretty elite. And even though he isn't the most explosive, he isn't the fastest. I mean, his 40 time was 4.67. That's pretty brutal for running backs. So I can understand your hesitancy on him, but I think in the short sample size that he's had a featured job, he's produced, and I think he's going to have a good season.
Yeah, I'm not a Madison guy. I know he stepped into a role when Dalvin Cook goes down and produced, but in my mind, that's like just a highly producing role. period.
Yeah.
Just from an eye test, I'm not impressed by him. You talked about his speed. He doesn't have breakaway speed. He doesn't really break tackles. He's just the kind of guy that like gets the yards that are in front of him and then gets hit and goes down. So because of that, I think the Vikings will look to move on from him pretty quickly, or they'll just throw the ball to their weapons, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, and obviously JJ. So in my mind, it's like he's either not that playmaker and they're just going to use him as kind of a filler running back, so his role will diminish, or the Vikings are not going to be happy and looking to move on from him quickly. So yeah, I have him at outside of my top 30. I literally, as you were talking, I just moved him like probably 5 places down because we had just talked about Pierce. I like Pierce. Pacheco is another guy I like. So, Charbonneau. Yeah, he's just not my guy. I don't like him.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'll be very strong in my vocal points if I am proved correct this season. So you'll be hearing that later on.
Let's put a Madison wager on the board. We don't have to do it right now. We can save that for redraft. But there's been a Madison wager either. I bet you one's previously recorded from our trial runs. To be honest,
we'll re-listen. We'll go through the archives.
I'm sure there already is one, but we will have one before it's up. He's been a big, talking point on both of us. On opposite sides of that, but in his spot there at 23, I have Joe Mixon. You have Mixon at 26. I think I have him there. I don't know about Joe Mixon. So he's obviously a great running back and he's in an awesome offense. I just don't know what his future is. So I have him there because should be a top 10 running back again, but like they brought in Chase Brown, who seems to be a good runner. I don't know what Joe Mixon's future is, especially having to pay, Higgins, Chase, Burrow, obviously, but and he's aging. So,
let me cut you off here. He's 26 years old, so he is aging, but he's still at that Saquon age.
Feels like he's been running a lot longer than that, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Absolutely. Yeah. But he's got 2 years left on his contract. But the whole thing is the Bengals want him to take a pay cut in order for them to pay Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. And if he's not willing to take a pay cut, then he'll be released. But previously he took a team-friendly deal in 2021. So that kind of points to me that he's willing to take a pay cut. So I personally think he will, and he knows that his value is the highest on the Bengals. I mean, AFC Championship game 2 years in a row. So why wouldn't you want to be a part of that team, But it's, his legal issues off the field. He had a pretrial set for June 29th, which was last week. I haven't heard anything about that since, but I'm sure we will be hearing about that some way in the news source coming up. But he's an elite running back, top 10 in 4 out of the last 5 seasons. Last year, he was top 5 in receptions among running backs and 6th in red zone usage. Like he's elite. And, obviously there's reasons why you would kind of be hesitant on him, but the offense, the Bengals signed Orlando Brown to a 4-year, $64 million contract. So that's going to beef up their offensive line. He's a value right now being where he's drafted.
Yeah. Holy shit. Well, I had to fact check you on the 26 age, the age 26 season. That's crazy to me. I cannot believe it. I reacted while you were talking, like mind blown, because I would have said 28. I would have said Eckler's age. I would have said like a couple of older backs that we've been talking about because, dude, he's been a top 10 running back besides the season he got injured since 2018. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll probably be moving him up here as we're talking this through. Like, his future may not. He has 2 years on the Bengals. Like, that's should be 2 very good years. So, and then at that point, it's like, have they won a Super Bowl yet? They'll find a way. People will find ways to pay guys that if you have a Super Bowl contending team the next 2 years and you're Joe Mixon, what are you going to go play for one of the bottom teams to get? You're going to compromise. The team's going to know that they need each other. Probably
Yeah.
Joe Mixon doesn't have as much leverage, but
No,
I mean, you're not going to leave that situation. It's like
no,
Draymond right now, like the
yeah.
whole Draymond Warriors situation.
Mhm.
Do I go get paid or do I stick with my core team that's been competing for championships? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So after us talking about him, I'll probably end up moving him up a little bit. I'm not too worried about his legal situation. If it
No,
ends up
me
getting,
neither. That's the other
if
thing.
if it does get resolved, it'll probably affect him next season, but it doesn't seem like it'll be that bad. So, moving on. Someone that kind of ties into the last guy we just talked about, Dalvin Cook. We both have ranked at 24, just at the tail end of our RB2s. And I don't, Dalvin Cook is still a beast. Do you have anything you want to say about him real quick?
Yeah, he's still a beast. Like you said, he's explosive running back who is awesome for the Vikings. I mean, he is also a little bit lower because of the uncertainty. Where is he going to play this year? If he's with the Dolphins, then I think he's going to be awesome. If he's in the Patriots and he's kind of a supporting role to Ramondre, or the same thing with the Jets to Breece Hall, maybe not as much. So is he going to be a featured back here? Is going to determine a lot with that value. So we'll see.
Yeah. He had shoulder surgery in February, but he's expected to be ready for training camp. Last year was a career low for him, and with 4.4 yards per carry. He definitely saw a downtick in efficiency. He ran for a first down on 18.9% of carries, and the previous 3 consecutive seasons was at least 22.9. So, it's noticeable that he had a downtick in efficiency last year, and I think teams see that. That's why he's not signed yet. But, I just think wherever he goes, he's just going to be an auxiliary piece. And he'll be good, but he's not going to get that big workload that he once saw in Minnesota. So, does he go to the Patriots, the Jets, the Broncos, the Dolphins? I don't know. But regardless of where he goes, I don't see him achieving that elite level.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins give him a pretty good workload. I mean, A-Chain's not going to take over that backfield maybe ever. I think he could be like a Swiftish role where he gets 15 touches a game, but that's about
he
it.
doesn't have that archetype to be a 3-down back for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think they would be good complementary pieces together, and then you're going to still run Wilson maybe as your pound at running back and get Mostert in there because he's McDaniel's guy. But I think his role would be significantly bigger with the Dolphins than it would in those other Patriots, Broncos, Jets that you named. So that's where I'm at there. Let's talk about his brother.
Zach? How about go ahead.
Talk about his brother, James Cook.
James Cook. Okay.
Because I do have him at 25. I know you're lower. You're at 32 with James.
Yeah.
So let's just hammer out the Cook brothers there. James Cook for me showed towards the end of the season into the playoffs that he could be the type of running back that the Bills just need, and that's a guy that doesn't need to be heavily involved, but when he gets the ball, he has the ability to do something with it. So I expect him to take a step up in talent level this year as well as role. So I'm confident that the Bills are going to be an awesome offense, maybe the best in the NFL. Allen's going to come back in a huge way. And Cook's going to be that piece that is a notch higher than Singletary, who, was a great running back there. So, I expect big things from Cook.
Yeah, he's 23 years old, coming in at 5'11", 190, so he's not your typical lead back stature, but in the minimum role he had last year, he was efficient. He had a 5.7 yards per carry on 91 carries. Like, that ranks in the top percentile. And he had 8.5 in yards per completion on 21 receptions. So he's slated to be that pass catching back in Buffalo alongside Nyheim Hines. And he seems to be able to play that third down versatile runner. So I'm sure he'll get some looks, but I'm projecting him to have under 200 carries, probably over 50 receptions. But
I was going to say 150 carries and 50 receptions is to me reasonable. So
Yeah, absolutely. And what he does with that workload is to be determined. But I can understand your excitement about him. I don't know how much work he's actually going to get and what he does with it. We'll see.
yeah, I mean, my excitement stems from being the lead running back in the best offense in the NFL. So,
Well, I think that's our differing opinions, because I think Damian Harris is going to end up being the lead back. I think he's going to have more carries. He's gonna probably play on a more. Well, I don't know about that. I think James Cook will probably play more percentage of snaps just because of the way that offense runs. But I just think Damian Harris is going to be used as the goal line back. He's going to be used as the early down between the tackles guy, and James Cook will be coming in on third down as the pass catching back. So, with that for me,
I think James Cook has more fantasy points than Damian Harris this year. Do you agree?
I don't know if I'm ready to take that bet right now.
Okay.
I just based on the way that offense excels is through the passing game, and I think Damian Harris will have more carries and more rushing touchdowns. But the way that the fantasy sports is broken with pass catching running backs, there's a good chance that even with the small workload that James Cook gets, he could end up with more fantasy points.
Well, then I'm not going to let you sit here and lie to my fucking face and tell me that you think Damian Harris is going to be the lead back in Buffalo.
Well, that's okay. So how would you define lead back? Because to me, lead back is starting running back on first and second down and goal line back. That's the lead back for me. The pass catching back out of the
highest
third down
producing running back is lead back. I think that's pretty cut and dry.
Okay, so then we have differing opinions on what lead back means in the NFL. It's subjective. So if you want to call it that,
lead back to you means the guy that runs the ball more and gets
lead back
goal line
is
carries?
Starting running back who comes out on the first down in week one ready to go with the team. Who's the starting running back? To me, that's Damian
James
Harris.
Cook.
Okay,
so
we'll see what happens.
Percentage of snaps, is that what you're going to say?
No, but that's what I was just saying before, that even with the percentage of snaps, the way that the Bills run their offense is through the air. So I could see James Cook having a higher percentage of snaps. But that's just because of the way that they formulate
James Cook's going to have more production and more percentage of snaps, but he's not their lead back.
I wouldn't say more production. I think he'll have more receptions. He's going to be involved in that passing game, which they run through the passing game. But Damian Harris is going to have the goal line work. He's going to have the early down carries, and that's just where I'm at with it.
I know that you don't like to recognize standard scoring because you say, go ahead.
PPR is standard.
Okay. But for the sake of this, you're saying then that Damian Harris will have more points in a standard format than James Cook.
Yes.
Put it on the board.
All right, fine. If that's what you want to do. I hate talking about ESPN standard scoring, but if that's what you want to go to, yeah, I think Damian Harris will have more points. We're just
live talking through that backfield, and that's what it boiled down to. So let's put it on the board.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on.
Deal.
Boom. Let's talk about someone I like very much this year that I'm higher. We have him in the same spot. I am at 27. You have him at 28. His name's Zach Charbonnet. Or how
Charbonneau.
Mike, how do you pronounce his name?
Charbonneau, baby. I went to LSU, Cajun French. It calls it Charbonneau. Charbonneau, baby.
Okay, fair enough. So Zach
I'll
Charbonnet.
Even spell it for you in the chat here. Charbonneau. EAUX. Charbonneau.
Okay, fair enough.
That's how we'd call it down there in the bayou.
And then the bayou. Okay.
The bayou. Yeah.
Well,
Charbonneau.
So Zach Charbonnet is 22 years old, and he's coming in at 6'1", 220 pounds. He's being compared a lot to DeMarco Murray. He's credited to have great burst and great vision. He runs hard and has breakaway speed. Pete Carroll even came out and said that, he seems to be able to do it all. So I could easily see him taking over the goal line carries and the pass catching work for Seattle, and what he does with that, we'll see. How do you feel about him?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, he is not DeMarco Murray.
Okay, I mean, that's your opinion, but he is being compared to DeMarco Murray. So
he is not. DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray was a stud. I think Charbonneau is going to be good. I'm not as high on him as everyone else, although I think he was that good as a running back at UCLA. He looks great. I just think that he's going to be in a committee with Walker.
Yeah. In his last 2 years at UCLA, he ran for 2496 yards, so almost 2,500 yards, 27 touchdowns with a 6.3 yards per carry.
When was that?
His last 2 seasons at UCLA.
Okay, so not quite like Dobbins, who put that up in one season at Ohio State.
Yeah, obviously Dobbins coming out of college was very good, but we're not talking about Dobbins. We're talking about Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, Charbonnet is a good running back. He's looks great. He's your NFL prototype running back. I'm just not as high on him as everyone else. Everyone thinks he's going to come in and take a ton of Walker's production, and he's going to be the guy that ends up leading that backfield. And maybe he does over a few seasons, but it's not going to be this year. I think it's going to take a little bit. He's good, and I have nothing negative to say about him. I'm just not sold on him being the alpha in that running back room. They're both going to have a good role. And I just don't think that's the Seahawks as a whole. They have all the weapons in the world. It's just Geno Smith is my issue. I have an issue with Geno Smith being the core of that offense.
I mean, the number 5 quarterback last year, you have an issue with, right?
Yeah, the guy that started more games last year than his previous 8 seasons combined.
Yeah.
So I don't like him. And maybe at the age of 32, he just, smoked some ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers and had a whole, rebirth, but I'm not in it. So
yeah, fair enough. I can understand where you're coming from. I don't think he'll be the alpha in that offense. I think that's still
backfield
Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
The alpha in that backfield. I think it's still Kenneth Walker, but Zach Charbonnet is going to be quite a strong auxiliary piece to that offense, in my opinion. So, but again, we'll see, right? We'll find out.
Yeah, that's the beauty of fantasy. And honestly, like, he could end up being the alpha eventually. I just don't think it's right away. I think he has to blow Walker out of the water, and Walker has to fuck up and fumble the ball. It's going to have to come earned, and by Walker losing that job.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, the next guy we have swapped here, where I have Zach Charbonnet, you have Isaiah Pacheco. He's 23 years old, coming in at 5'11", 216 pounds, runs a 4.3 40. The guy runs hard, man.
Hard
when you
runner.
See him run. He just punishes the ground as he's running. Like,
hard runner.
Yeah. He was a 7th round draft pick, so not much investment. I think he personally has a short leash with that Chiefs offense. But he seems like he will be the early down back, between the tackles kind of guy on a pass heavy offense. So I don't know how much work he'll actually see, but he had offseason surgery to repair a broken hand and a torn labrum that he played through last year, and he didn't miss a game.
He excelled through, that he looked fabulous, he took over that backfield in the playoffs.
Yeah,
both pass catching and running.
To me, he's a high floor, low ceiling type of player. He's just a safe draft pick to me.
I was literally Googling those injuries because I wanted to highlight that. He's a starting running back in arguably the best offense in the NFL with Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback. Mahomes running backs get like a 1.3 touchdown per game clip, I want to say, is the number. So he's going to score touchdowns. He's going to be heavy in that offense, especially like Kelsey's going to get touchdowns. There's a lot that's not figured out yet in the wide receiver room. So, to me, he's probably the number 2 weapon on the best offense in the NFL. I'm high on Pacheco. Yeah.
I mean, he's going to see a lot of scoring opportunities with that offense. They're going to be in the red zone a lot.
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. All right. Well, before we go on to our next guy, I just want to plug in some Sports Ethos real quick. This is a very special time at Sports Ethos because we have officially launched our NFL Draft Guide for the 2023 season. It already has more than 60 pieces of content in it, including massive team breakdowns and rankings, and we're aiming to have more than 200 features before the start of the season. And right now, you can get the NFL Fantasy Pass for the ridiculous rate of just $4 per month. That's it, $4 per month. and you can find it at sportsethos.com.
Yeah, and just to build on that, like the fantasy football division is relatively newer at Sports Ethos. It started as a basketball site, and certainly there's a lot of credibility behind the baseball as well. But fantasy football, we're starting to kind of build that out and aggressively doing so. And some of the guys that are that we'll have on this podcast, but main contributors to that draft guide, they are bright football minds. Everyone looks at things a little bit differently, and I'm excited to kind of share their brains here on the pod. So everyone kind of gets to the end their own way. So you're going to see some very bright minds in the fantasy football space that are going to all do it a different way at a highly effective level. So yeah, go get the draft guide, probably the cheapest in the industry, and you're going to get some of the best content. So definitely pumped to have everyone on.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting back into it, I want to talk about someone, rookie running back for the Miami Dolphins, Devon Achane. Yeah, I got Achane down at 29. You have him down at 35, so a little bit lower than I have him. But he's explosive, man. He's fast on a Mike McDaniel offense. Jeff Wilson, his running back colleague, already came out and said that boy can go. So he's quick, man. He's really fast, and I think he's just going to excel. He landed in the best spot. He's really young, 21 years old, but he's a small running back. He's 5'9", 188. He only played 3 years in college. In those 3 years, he was able to get 2,300 yards, 21 touchdowns, rack up a 6.4 yards per carry. But he was quite involved in the passing game. So I'm pretty excited, and I drafted him in a couple of my leagues already. So, Mike, what do you have to say about Devon Achane?
Yeah, so he's a great he's a great piece for that Dolphins team. I've watched a lot of them in college. I'm not a Texas A&M fan. I despise Texas A&M. I really don't hold many bias. But I do not. They're my least favorite college, period. So that's my knock on him, and there may be slight bias against him, but I try not to carry that over to the pros. But anyways, he's perfect for Mike McDaniel. He's quick, he's speedy back. So it's no surprise that McDaniel loves speed, and he does a lot with it. So Achane should be an awesome piece there. Hill, Waddle, hopefully Tua stays healthy. I really hope that for that offense.
Man, I hope so too.
But if everything goes well there, he's going to be a huge piece and a very dangerous threat. So yeah, excited to see what Achane does.
Okay. Moving on, we want to talk about a duo in a backfield.
Yeah, let's knock them both out. I got 29. I got Kamara at 29. You have Kendry Miller at 30. So let's knock out that Saints backfield. Go ahead and do you want me to start with Kamara, or do you want to just jump on Miller?
I'll jump on Miller. He's the younger back. He's 21 years old. He's pretty big, 6 foot, 220. Played 3 years at TCU. I mean, everybody saw him and that team completely fold in the national championship last year. But aside from that, man, he was able to rack up 2,400 yards for 26 touchdowns in his college career, coming in at a 6.7 yards per carry. So pretty legit. And he was not a great pass catcher, but I think he's capable. He didn't test at the combine due to injury, so we don't know his 40-yard. But, I just think if Kamara gets suspended, which most of us think he will, I think Miller's going to see some legit opportunities with Jamal Williams in the backfield. So, I don't know. I'm pretty high on him as a prospect, and I just kind of like him as a player. I think he's going to do really good in the NFL.
Yeah, TCU, great back out of TCU. I think he's potentially in a role to kind of take over that Kamara backfield. So his future's bright. I don't think he's going to step in this year and really carve out that big of a role. You have Jamal Williams, who led the NFL in rushing touchdowns last year. You have Kamara, who we'll find out this month about his suspension. I think it's coming up like maybe this week, or his ruling. So then NFL will come out with their suspension after that. But 6 games is, I think, the projection. So he's going to have 6 games there at the beginning of the year to play that number 2 role in the backfield. I think Jamal Williams will come out as the RB1. But Kamara's not going to lose a role regardless of how Miller plays. Kamara is an awesome running back, and he still is. He's everything that you want in a running back. You know what I mean? So
and he's definitely not going to lose anything. He's got 3 years left on his contract, although he is 27. So I don't know if the Saints live out that contract with him, but I mean, he seems like the type of guy that he could last pretty long with low mileage on his car and just his skill set. But they upgraded the quarterback situation, so the team should be better. That trial date you were talking about is July 31st on his conspiracy to commit battery. So at the end of the month, we should see what happens there. But obviously, everyone's talking about it. Suspension is likely to follow.
Yeah.
But he's consistently one of the best running backs in fantasy football. He's never I don't know if you knew this, but he's never eclipsed over 1,000 yards rushing or 1,000 yards receiving. But he's been able to be like top 10 without ever getting either, but he's been right there. So he's reaching that age where running backs usually decline. But, like I said, he's got low miles. I could see him excelling for the next 3 years and beyond that, to be honest.
Yeah. Kamara. So I have him at 29 because you said 3 years left on the deal. He's 27. So in my mind, like 3 years, that's what you look at in Dynasty. So Kendre Miller, if he performs at an extremely high level and the Saints decide that they want to move Kamara before that deal's up, then I think he's still young and talented enough that he'll be moved somewhere where he can succeed. But in order for them to make that decision, Miller's going to have to come in and ball out and prove to be like the backfield guy. He's going to have to be the RB1 because Jamal's can play that complementary piece like he did, in Detroit, but he's not going to step in and be they're not going to get rid of Kamara unless Miller just takes over that backfield. So that's going to have to happen in order to see Kamara in a different jersey. So I'm pretty confident to put him there at 29. So yeah, I love the way he runs. He just looks like such a good stereotypical, just like ball catching running back, three down running back. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for us on the running backs 21 through 30.
Yep.
And stay tuned. We're going to cover the rest of these running backs throughout the rest of this week and dive into the wide receivers the week after. Again, you can find all of our rankings on Twitter. We'll be posting on sportsethos.com. Mike, where else are we going to be posting?
Yeah. So Sports Ethos, we're going to start. We probably should like this week after we hammer out running backs. We'll go ahead and make a quarterback post. Maybe we'll do that here today is post our quarterback rankings. And then kind of do the same here with running backs after our week. And we're complete with our running back rankings. So sportsethos.com, follow us at Fantasy Roadshow on Twitter. We'll be posting our rankings there as well. But I think we do have a post on Sports Ethos in a channel that kind of updates our rankings kind of as we go. So we'll have that living on www.sportsethos.com.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Everybody else, stay tuned for what's to come. Buckle up.
Buckle up.